Good morning. Good morning. Hope you guys can hear us. Please let us know if you can hear and see us. You're in the picture?
I'm
You're in
here.
the picture?
Here.
Sister Chris is on the phone listening, and Kim is the first runner up here on the live stream. Good morning, Kim. Good morning, Deb. Good morning, Sandra.
Good morning, everybody.
Sinette, good morning to you in Denmark. And Marjorie, good to see you, sweetheart, on here with us. And Dee Dee and George. Hey, sweetie, how y'all doing?
Good to see you.
And let's see, Morgan. Hey, Morgan.
Morgan J.
Hey, Sissy.
Laverne Lee.
Sissy and Laverne and Cynthia Spencer. Before I move forward,
Shirley,
let me just add this. I wanted to say, happy birthday, Sissy. Her birthday is tomorrow. She'll be 63.
Oh, girl, you getting old.
Hey, and let's see who else is here. Hey, brother-in-law, I didn't say hello to you. I just said hello to Sissy. Anyway, we're glad you guys are here. And what we got for them today? What we got in store?
Well, I'm over here in Jeremiah 1:5, and I want to. It might sound a little bit redundant to repeating itself, but I was moving about, and I said to all of you before you came on, speaking to you from my inner self, I want you guys to be so fixed in awareness of your infinite eternal self, the way you can relax in it and investigate and finds out the potential of your real self.
Yeah.
I look back over the stories of the past, and I can see where our pure self, God, eternal identity, was looking over us before we got to this point. And after becoming aware of this, you guys are going to find out that there is some unction and travailing that is going on inside your soul, which is the conditioned self and the mind and reasoning. There's a burden in it because it finally is going to come to a place once your aware of awareness, begin to see that you are the fuel as the eternal self for every living entity or being in the universe. Right now, as we look at each other on the screen and listen, we are the juice that is inside and outside of everybody that's on this screen, and the ones that you cannot see are the ones that are just listening and don't want to be noted. Now, this is not something that I made up. It took me 53 years, at least 4, to come to this seeing. And the burden.
Well, actually, if you think about your age, it took you 74.
Well, 74, you go all the way. Yeah.
Seeing. Yes.
Everybody is going to eventually shed this suit. And I'm walking the floor in the mornings and at night, and I'm watching near death, and I'm looking at all the experiences that they have. And some of them have had some of the same experience that we are talking about in our classes.
That's true.
But at the same time, I hear them saying a lot of time when a person crosses over or leave their bodies, we call it death to the body, they said they go home to be with the Lord. I almost kicked my television screen out in my conditioned self.
Why?
And I'm glad you asked that, because if you, let's start off from a church point of view, the brick and mortar. If God, the Holy Spirit, is in you, and you say that when a person leave their body die, they go home. Home is not a distant place. Home is not some place where God is, that when you leave your body, you go there. And but what you gonna do with what's in you? If that in you is any difference than a person dying and going to be with the Lord, that must be two Lords or two Jesuses or two Holy Ghostes. And I'm trying to point out to you that as I begin to meditate on this, I said one time, I said, I'm looking in books and studying and reading to find out what God wants. And yet I keep telling people in church when I go to testify that God is in me. Now, if he's in me, what is it that keeps looking for him to come, which is okay, which is no problem. But what is this that says when somebody leave their body, they're going home to be with the Lord? To be with the Lord, to be absent from the body, to be with the Lord, but to be in the body is to still be with him. Yeah. That's my point is, let's pay attention to how we verbalize how close God is. Because in my research, back in the day of the brick and mortar, I used to have prayer lines. And the people would come up and I would put my attention on the inner beingness, the Holy Spirit. I studied this Holy Spirit thing for years. And when I reached my hand,
and what you're saying, you brought in your awareness,
the
Holy Spirit into local focus, not distant, not coming, not separate, but a local focus. Right here where you were. Yeah, right where you are.
And then I said, I get this. I said this. I said, if God is here in me, everything I say, even like now, is called God inside awareness.
And you preached a sermon of God inside mindedness.
Yes, that's been years ago. That's right. Sure
God
did.
inside mindedness and removing the gap. That's what that was your
collapsing the gap
theme
between,
of your sermon was that.
Collapsing the gap between us and God. Now, what's making this thing seem like God is another place waiting for you to get there is the mind.
Well, and then if you take the leap into non-duality, God cannot be separate and apart from you, because whatever you are is that God is.
That's right.
So it's and some people are not able to make that leap into non-duality or oneness, and they stay in the relationship with God arena. So my relationship with God, I cultivate that. I speak to God as an other, even though I know God is here. So, and that's okay. And I say this, you don't have to be monochromatic. There's no right or wrong way.
That's right.
There's just higher levels of seeing. And sometimes the non-dual, the oneness, God being who we are, doesn't work for the mind.
No,
it doesn't work for the feelings. And so what you're saying is, when you did the prayer lines, you practice bringing your awareness into a local focus of where God is.
I had to, because what I was doing, like Jesus said, my Father worked hitherto. Hitherto mean like
I'm here and he's there.
Hitherto we in the Old Testament of the Bible, it talks about a prophet who wanted to cross a certain body of water, and he took his put that thing, that robe around him, whatever you call it, mantle. Took his mantle, and he stood out over the Jordan, I think it was, and he wanted to walk across it to get to the other side. So what he did was took his mantle and struck the waters. The mantle struck it in front, say hither, and struck it behind, thither, hither and thither.
So the water was in essence opening up as he took a step
and closing behind
as he
Lord have mercy, baby Jesus and his cousins. I'm telling you.
So it's almost like a walk, a walk of oneness in the midst of a concept of separation.
Let me tell you something here. When God said to Adam, that Eve was going to be, after coming forth, bone of his flesh, bone of bone and flesh of flesh.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord God caused a deep sleep to come upon Adam, and he slept. We call it now anesthesia.
Yeah, we do.
And he slept. Adam went to sleep and slept, and he took a rib out of Adam and closed up. Now, see, flesh was still there then.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, his God doing something to a part of him.
If this narrative
if
is
this
true,
narrative is
yes.
true, if this
Mm-hmm.
is true, not just a story, let's say this is all one a great truth. Adam and God was two beings, individualized, but one. And he took the rib which Lord God had taken from man, and made he a woman, and brought her unto the man.
Mm-hmm.
And Adam said, this now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, she shall be called woman. When he said the big devil, whoa, when he come out of that coma, that sleep, and looked up, and there she was standing there in the light body of her eternal body self. He looked at her and whoa, I think I called her a woman. That's what she was. My point is that,
well, we talked about this.
We did.
How that we realize now that Adam had both genders.
Yes, he did.
That he was both male and female.
And that's right.
And that's why God called, when he did take Eve out of Adam, and I'm going to call her Eve, because at that time she was still Adam. God called them both Adam.
She was still in him.
Mm-hmm.
If you go spirit with this, I want you guys to learn how to go spirit in everything, but not get out of balance.
Yeah.
I want you to go spirit in everything. And if this is true, God and us, when God did this in your eternal self, you were there. He said, let us.
Yes, he did.
He's talking about you as the eternal self. He ain't talking about your mama's body, your daddy's body, or your generational physical inherited body, your land and property. He's talking about the real you, the real spirit you, the eternal you. Jeremiah 1:5 said it before he was formed in the belly. Yes, he did.
And when I did the eulogy for Brother Kessler's wife this week, that was where I came from with the subject or the topic. It was before that there is a you that was before.
You know, that's the truth.
There was a you
that's
that was
the truth now.
Before this physical.
That was an us, me, you, before any paper, book, or ink.
And before a conception of a body. Before a sperm swam. Before mom and daddy got busy, there was a you that was already existing, already living somewhere that God knew. That's amazing to me.
You were waiting for this moment or that birth date in your finite world to establish in a story or a dream. If this is true, you waited for the materialization of a suit from your mama and daddy to come together for you and I to step in. When you were born, God experienced it.
Yes.
When you came forth, God came forth in a different way than what you've been taught in religion.
And that sounds to me so profound, not because we said it, but because where does that put us as far as our classification? We are much more than just some little me, some little human, some little limited being. We are so much more, but we can't see ourselves that way. If we look through the lens of our conditioning, we can't see that.
The heart of you. I saw on YouTube the loggers and the timber cutters. They were cutting some large trees, and when they cut it down, they showed the camera over top of the stump, and those rings around it go around that tree. Do you know every time we cut a tree, it screams? Now here's one of the potentials of your inner ear
So we
of
should
your eternal self.
so we should sanction and honor that we use to live off
With
of.
all due respect,
Living off of that is living.
cast off the mind and the suit for a while, and let's walk into the valley of the shadows of death, where no evil shall come upon us and stop it. The only evil that you're dealing with is the evil of the belief that you started off in the womb, which the book and which your eternal self didn't start at physical birth, before the body. Matter of fact, I had a chance to look into the eons of the heaven and saw bodies that were waiting on the other side for us as a model. We looked thousands and thousands of years. Spirit looked over every experience before the worlds were created and every universe. And we ham sandwiches we did, but we came up with this thing that you and I are wearing right now.
I know, and sometimes we don't like the ones we're wearing.
Wait a minute, hold on. When she said sometimes we don't like, what don't like it is it.
Is the mind itself, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
All the time that it went to school, all it was trying to do from other its was form a condition from the kindergarten, first grade to the 12th grade, and then college.
What was it called?
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten.
We went to kindergarten. What you call it? Kindergarten.
What?
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten.
Yeah.
All right.
Listen to this right here. That right there.
And let's see, where am I looking here?
Okay. You are now looking in the right place.
In Jesus's time, this is what he said. I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me to do thy will, O God. And he said, wherefore, when he comes into the world, he says, sacrifice and offering thou wouldest not. But a body hast thou prepared me.
Buzz, you're hitting it right down the middle of the road. And look, a body
was prepared for us.
A body was prepared for us.
So that's why I say you came through your mom and dad, not from your mom
Isn't
and dad.
it, Buzz? I'm telling you, you're hitting it right down the middle of the road. Got it tied down on both sides.
Say? Let me see. Some people think that thoughts that disturb them need to be gone in order to experience their true eternal essence. These thoughts are always going to be there. The key is to not identify with them. Yes, sir. That is exactly right. So that's why we say nothing has to change, and nothing does change just because you don't feel good or just because you're not thinking more positive thoughts. It doesn't change. Everything is already fixed. And what is that part of us that's disturbed with the disturbance is what is the problem. So it's the walking off from the one that's disturbed.
You said by telepathic communication, spirit to spirit, in the dimension of the heavenlies, you said, I am going to pick out every person when I get down to earth or in the earth or step into that dimension or the story. You picked out by infinite choice or infinite. This is going to happen. I'm going to come and get this person in my life. I'm going to be hurt and disappointed. I'm going to lead all the way to the end. And you said, wow, I'm going to have this to happen to me, to my body. Say it like that.
Body.
To my body. And then at a certain place in it, watch this, Buzz, here come. I'm going to leave this thing at that point, whether it's 50, 60, 30, or 2, 3, 5, and 20 years. You said, not by words like this, but by your beingness. Your beingness, you decided. I don't know, I use the word decide, but it's not really deciding. You just did it. You are the did itself before the foundation of the world, and you came here to do this that we're doing today. That's the reason why when you lay hands on somebody or pray for them, Don't ask God to come the most ominous way. You know how you come to Him. Forget about that kindergarten, lazy, unnecessary self. Let me tell you something else. I want you to hear this. We had one of the preachers in our church. He tell them about they were sitting around Thanksgiving, and I'm gonna be real crude when I say it, but I want you guys to listen.
Are.
Yeah, watch this now. Listen to this.
Okay.
He was sitting at the table, and you know how we join hands, and the turkey sitting up there, and it's hot, and we get to pray, and if somebody get real spiritual, they pray till the turkey get cold. And he was sitting there, and he said, "Oh Lord, hold on." His grandmama stopped him on and tapped him and said, son, you don't need to go through all of that. She said, let me show you how to pray and bless the food. Bow your head. She's now watch this now. This is not messing with people. She bowed, everybody bow your head. She said, God, help a nigga out. And then that was it. Amen. She said, I'll show you how to pray. She was personally awareness of God's address being right there at the table.
Oh, and not only that, but she was being very real.
Very simple and easy.
I think, and I say this because in my earlier days, my earlier conversion days, I thought I had to word things just right for God to actually respond. But I didn't realize that God was responding based on what my heart's cry was. And it didn't require so many words. And I think that's why there's a scripture also where he says those they desire to pray in the synagogues with many words, and they think because of the many words they're going to be heard. And I think that's what happens to us sometimes. We think we have to say things where God will accept it, so God will accept it. But then all of that is still separation, conceptual thinking in the midst of the non-dual oneness. It's in the midst of it. So, and even in the scriptures, you'll see where Jesus, who is our example for you and me, he's always going to be our guru and our spiritual teacher, and our allegiance is to Jesus Christ. Because that's who brought us into this awakening. But you'll notice even in the scriptures, there are times when he spoke directly as though he were God, and then there are times when he spoke directly as though he was human, and was separate from God. So it doesn't, like I said, you don't have to be monochromatic. There is no right or wrong to this. It's simply a difference in the way you're seeing at that moment.
I'm sitting in there and I'm watching some Christmas movies. I'm looking at what's going on in the heart of my infinite self. And I hear my inner voice say, Jesus, God, I see you. I know where you are. I collapse all space and distance between you and I. Let's talk about it. Right here in this chair. I ain't talking about prayer going in no higher than the ceiling. The dump that fell off the wall. Look, I'm talking about walking fullness of awareness. That this girl sitting here in a suit.
I'm a girl.
She's a girl.
Not an old lady.
No old lady. Your body might want to say it. Your mind might say it. But I know something about you.
But I'm a girl.
You're a girl.
So this girl what?
This girl don't have to keep running around through the house and checking to see if I'm here. Unless she look and I'm gone. God ain't gone nowhere. And he ain't never been gone. And you can't run him off.
You know what you made me think of? There are times when the two of us are doing different things.
Pardon me for a minute. Glory be to God.
Oh,
go ahead.
There are times when we're in different spaces, even in the house.
All right, now watch it. Now there you go.
And not really together physically, but there's the separation has nothing to do. How do I want to say it? The oneness has nothing to do with distance. The separation has nothing to do with distance. So separation from God has nothing really to do with you being located in another space. It's seeing yourself as not connected.
When I get to heaven, I'm going to sit down. When I get to heaven, I'm going to sit down. When I get to heaven, I'm going to sit down and rest a little while. All right, here's another way to say it. When I fully see myself, I will know that I am seated
Mm-hmm.
in a resting place inside this aware consciousness body
Yeah.
and rest, not a little while, but forever.
So the phases are how we see.
I slip out of my resting position, my kingdom of God's
Yeah,
self,
yeah,
when I go
yeah,
back to this
yeah.
finite thinking, believing. Bud said it right there.
He did.
He did.
He
He
did.
said it right there.
Yeah.
Everybody have these thoughts. Everybody have these feelings, but you got to know something about this.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
You got to know. You got. It's not a knowledge that comes from studying.
Right.
You may study something, but you drop it because you know the truth behind who is driving this car.
It's a car.
Yeah, this is a car. We call our body an automobile. It's just like your car. Your car ain't gonna move till you get in it. And if you go out there and sit down in it and say crank, it ain't gonna, now you might have one of them modern day cars now. You know, this thing of touching a button in your car to crank it with your feet on the without your feet being on the gas. They had them kind of cars back then in the 30s and 40s and 50, 57. Them old Lincolns, you could hit a button up there on the dashboard, and you could change gears up there on the dashboard.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Okay. Now, this is what we call the mother load.
So when we are aware of ourselves as a higher divine self, it's a higher self identity.
We call
That's
it
all
the
it
words.
is. It's just a higher self identity.
Mhm.
And then there are times, like you said, we will
Mhm.
fall into a lower self identity,
Mhm.
which feels and believes sometimes that it is separate from God and disconnected. And then we will speak from that. And we'll speak to God as though it is separate. We'll speak to God as though we need its help and for it to rescue us and then for it to intervene. But in actuality, there has been no distance there, but in our concept.
Jesus never took the distance between him and the Father back by casting out evil spirits. He never left his identity of knowing who he was, even to the point of casting out evil spirits. At the crucifixion, he experienced what we experiences.
Yeah.
And we were inside of him, experiencing it with him. Look, my keys are in my pocket.
Are they?
They're right here. They are riding with me everywhere I go until I take them out of this pocket and lay them on the table.
Yeah, you're gonna fix it for us. Sis Chris won't hear.
That's okay. That's okay. She'll get it. She'll get it. This is absolutely separation from the body in my pocket. But I put them back in my pocket. I got one key that operates the truck, the Jeep. One key right here that operates the car. I am not going to go out there and see my car run off down the street without me being in it and let somebody steal it.
Yeah. Now
go ahead.
When you took your remotes out, I had this picture.
Mm-hmm.
The remote's here in the house.
Okay.
But it's able to affect the car out in the driveway. So there is in essence for the remote in the car, there is no distance.
Okay.
So it's still a divine connection there because it can influence what happens to that car. What feet more than 50 feet away. And so it's the same with us, even though there is a sense of a remote God. There is never a time when that remote God has lost connection with us. And there is never a time that remote cannot affect us no matter where and who and what we are.
Up in Pittsburgh, is that right? Where Miss Leslie is?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I was talking to her on the phone, and I was explaining to her, Miss Leslie drives some of those big buses up in Pittsburgh. I mean, the double end, them kind of buses when you turn a corner, it bends in the middle.
Yeah, it's a big one. Mm-hmm.
And I told her, I said, if you don't get in that bus, somebody else will. But here it is, different cups, same juice.
Yes.
When you sit down in that bus, I said, the bus is now you, and you are now it.
Yeah.
You can't get out every time you get ready to make a turn in a curve with that bus and look at the wheels and check to see if you got enough distance.
No.
I say
You have to become one
that's
with
what I
that
told her.
bus.
You do all of this in a little seat
Mm-hmm.
and your expanded consciousness.
Exactly.
All around that bus. My sister-in-law, when she was driving the school bus,
And she's tiny and
she's
petite.
little tiny. I can't believe she even get notion to get up in one of them big buses.
Mm-hmm.
They had to go around, check the tires, kick them with their feet, and check and make sure everything worked. Then she get back up in that little bitty, tiny, skinny little girl, get up in that big old juicy fat bus and take off down the road. She can't get to the corner, step out there and look around, make sure she got enough room. She is the bus.
She has to project herself. I remember I had to do that when we had that big conversion van.
That's right. That? Yeah. That thing
back
big.
in the day, and I had to drive it to work every day.
Mm-hmm.
It was so big. In fact, there was a girl that ran into the back of me, and it didn't put a dent in the van, but her car was almost totaled.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I had to project my awareness.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
The awareness that I am. I had to project. I had to become that van when I drove it.
That's right.
I had to become that van.
And we couldn't look out the door, and back we had to use the mirrors.
Exactly. So you were limited as to what you could see.
Reverse your awareness.
So your senses were not as useful to you. In driving that van, you had to really be intuitive. You had to project your awareness. You had to project yourself as awareness out beyond the perimeter of that vehicle. I wanted to touch on what Buzz says, because I think what Buzz is hitting on here is exactly true. We must have to go through a lot of suffering to know the truth of this. I don't know if we have to, but the suffering is used.
It's there.
I don't think people believe me when I tell them this. Some are too identified with thoughts. Some don't know the happiness. Yeah, and you know what, Buzz? I think too, in our pre-earth collaboration with God as unmanifest, in our charts that are set up, our sacred contract, we design or we order a body that sometimes has its limitations, its handicaps, and all of that is so that we will follow a certain path when we come here that will take us further into our evolution. And I'm a firm believer of that, because when I started having problems with this body, I had to redefine who I am. I had to redefine it, and it was the first time in my whole life that I have always gotten compliments for the way I look, even though I didn't see myself that way. But at the same time, when this thing hit this body and it started to be disfigured, I had to redefine who I believe myself to be. And I had to stop seeing myself as this physical body only. I knew it was here to serve me, and it's here as a vehicle for me. But it is not who I am.
You won't believe, and you will when I say that, just make a point. I see your mama right here in front of us in the spirit world, smiling at you this morning and laughing like she always. I can hear her. You can see her right there, standing right there on the other side of this table. And she is about 25, but I know her essence, and she's laughing and she's happy looking at you. And I can hear just in my, right here in the chest area, heart. And she's laughing so hard and so happy that her whole inner chest area lit up and it's beaming with rays of light.
Mm.
And she is saying to me on the other side, in that place she's in, I'm happy for y'all.
Mm. Mm.
I hear her saying that. That can go for you too.
Yes.
You got
Yes.
loved ones in that world
Yes.
that are pulling for you. We call it friends in high places.
Yes. Buzz says that knowing
Knowing.
that
You say it.
sometimes the physical handicaps is
Mhm.
there for your truth to be known.
Yes, yes.
That comes with freedom from thoughts.
That was a lady in a service I was in Monk's Corner, South Carolina. It was the grandmother of one of the pastors that is still part of our organization. I went down there and held a service in a gymnasium. I walked down on the floor, and I usually do that when I'm in a church service. I walk down,
Mhm.
and the angel of the Lord or a light being would come over the top of them, and he would show me who to talk to. There was a lady sitting on the end, which was the grandmother of the pastor, and she had a cane and she couldn't get up to walk good. I remember something that I practiced called Command Ye Me. Concerning the work of my hand in Joshua, command ye me.
Mhm.
You already know where God is. You already know what he's ready to do and what he's been doing. You just jump all the way into the conscious awareness of being nobody else but him.
Mm.
I said to the lady first, get up and walk. She couldn't. She couldn't walk. I backed off. When I backed off, I heard the words come through me. I speak to the Christ in you, and he allowed me to say this. I speak to the Christ in you and command the Christ in you to get up.
Yeah.
Brothers and sisters, I'm going to tell you, she come out of that chair. I did not speak to her body. I spoke to what was already existing in the eternals. I let my eternal speak to the eternal. And they both, be it one and the same, agreed that that body should respond to the commands of the eternal. She got up, started walking. But she wouldn't do it
That's right.
until after I switched gears.
You know what's awesome? You
Lord
made me
have mercy.
remember it too.
Mhm.
What's awesome is in my research about multiple personalities and fractured personalities,
Mhm.
there have been people who had different multiple personalities, and each personality, some of them had conditions, physical
Glory be to
conditions.
God. Mm.
When those personalities would surface, that condition would surface.
Yeah, yeah.
When those personalities receded, those conditions disappeared. Isn't that amazing? Now, isn't that amazing? If one personality was blind, when it receded, that blindness went away.
You know what? It ain't nothing like the real thing, baby. Ain't nothing like the real thing. That's the truth.
Yeah.
Every one of y'all out there is listening to us. You the real thing.
Yes, they are.
I don't care if you slip out of joint back over into your conditioned finite self. You're still the real thing.
And I wrote in my notes here, this is from way back, one universal truth. There's one universal truth.
Okay.
It is realizing God, and that God is in your own soul. That there is no other way to find God but in your own soul.
There is no words to describe the truth that you are as eternal infinite. There are no words to write that can reveal the realness of your infinite self. There are no words to describe the greatness of the I amness. I asked with words, why do we have so much, or something has so much problem trying to describe the indescribable? And I was told this week, it was revealed to me that the reason why you find no words is because stillness speaks, and because
Stillness has no word.
stillness does not have any word. So if God created the world by his word, he created the world by his essence. Didn't have to open his mouth like we've been taught. Like be.
Well, God in its unmanifest
Unmanifest
state
state.
would have no form.
Now thank you.
Only when there's
Thank you.
only when there's a manifestation is there a form.
Yes.
Only when
Yes.
there's a manifestation is there an object. So we are the manifestation of God.
I was talking to a group of men at an early morning breakfast this week, and I just told them, I said, when I look at them, I can see what they taught me in the heavenlies about how to see the eternal self in every man I meet, the Christ. And when I told them that I could remember, I have a exact awareness of the house I was in, the room I was in, and practically when I took my first step. I don't know whether I told you this or not. When I was knee high to a duck's butt, I developed a boil on my right.
Yeah, you told me that.
And I wanted to go outdoors and play. And one of my cousins was going out, Miss Estelle. She was going up Cherry Street in Winston, and I followed her on one knee out on the sidewalk because I wanted to go with her.
You really wanted to go.
I did. And that I remember that patch was on my leg, and it was a boil. It was terrible. I couldn't walk. They had a problem with that because they don't think that I remember all that stuff when I came home, and right when I started walking at 1, I was taken back to the hospital on the first floor, Kate Bidden Reynolds Memorial Hospital.
I know how you remember it. It's the same as how I remember before I was ever born. I remember a conversation between my mom and dad.
I told them
about
that.
me. So it isn't so much that my physical brain remembers. It isn't that. The physical brain doesn't remember all of that. But the essence that you are is timeless.
Yes.
It's timeless. Yes. So it recalls and sees everything that's happening.
It's called discovery, finding out. It's called inwardly, innerverse, outerverse, universe, facing the face of God. God's face has been imprinted on our bodies.
Well, we're wearing the face of God.
Look out now.
We are wearing the face of God.
Oh, Buzz, did you hear that, Buzz? We're talking some stuff now. Buzz, all you guys out there, this is grown folks talk.
So without all of these bodies, things, objects that we see, that we say God created, without all of those things and all of us, God is unmanifest. There is no form of God. And so we are the myriad forms of God.
You are the moving of God. You've always had God with you, even before the world. And then after you came out of the womb, God was there all the time. Brothers and sisters, I'm going to tell you, I could bust at the seam talking about this stuff.
Don't pop. But the dilemma is knowing that this that is here is God. The mind says, if it's God, why isn't it perfect? If it's God, why isn't it healed? If it's God, why isn't it unlimited? If it's God, then why can't it do this and why can't it do that? So this is where the dilemma comes in. But there's an acceptance that that you are is the manifestation of God. And when that happens, when there's power needed, it will be shown. When there's some supernatural exploit that needs to be, it will be done. But it's not controlled by the mind.
The morning Jesus appeared to me over 50 some years ago, I can look back now and see when he appeared over my head from the waist up, I kept wondering, what was this that turned its head and looked up at him without my physical body head turning.
What head was that?
It was my eternal
Hmm.
awareness self turned around. I felt it turned inside my body and looked up at it.
And at that point, when you felt that turning, you realized you were not restricted to your body.
I detached from it. I broke loose from the inner walls.
And that the body is here. Body is here as a vehicle to serve you, but
That's
it is not what you're restricted
That's right.
to.
Every night, in a certain place of 3 stages of sleep, you leave your body and give it a vacation from your infinite identity.
That's how it refreshes and replenishes.
Replenish, restore, subdue, replenish. And then if you go in there strong enough and come out, all these energy, 7 or 8, all energy centers recharge themselves by you stepping out and getting a recharge and a vacation from your body. When the time is right in this dimension, when the time of your sacred contract come up, I don't care what the body say, what the doctor say, you're going to walk over. Let me tell you something. I may have told you this. That was a man about 90 to 100 years old, was flying down Interstate 85. He was running like a bat out of hell down to the Raleigh-Durham airport to pick up his nurse, his girlfriend.
Oh, yeah, I remember him.
He was flying, and the highway patrol come up behind him and stopped him. And when he stopped him, he said, "Sir, do you realize how fast you're going?" He said, "No, I'm just on my way to the airport, and I'm running late to pick up my friend." He said, "Let me see your license." He pulled his license out and found out that this man
was over 90 something.
Over 100 years old.
Not 100, but he was almost 95.
Yeah, he was almost 100 years old. And the policeman looked at his license and said, "Sir, please slow this thing down. I look at your age." He said, "I can't give you a ticket, but would you please slow down?" He said, "Yes, sir." There's another case. There was a prophet guy named Paul. I just leave that first name. He was talking to his angel in the rearview mirror in the back seat of his car.
Yeah. Now, why are you sharing those stories with us?
I'm talking about inside awareness, your inner self.
Yeah.
And he was running, talking to the angel and running stoplights all through town.
I don't advise that. But.
No, but he was doing that, and he was talking to his angel in the back seat, riding around. And the police stopped and said, What are you doing? You're running through red lights here." He said to the policeman, "I'm so sorry, but my angel back there in the back seat was talking to me, and I was looking in the rearview mirror at him as we were talking." He said, "I didn't mean to run these stoplights." That policeman said, "If you don't look at what you're doing, you and your angel gonna get killed." And he cautioned him with a warning: keep yourself or your attention in front of you and not behind you. Whoa, that's a good one. Keep your attention always where the present moment of your God self is.
Yes. That's how accidents happen, when we don't have our attention on where we are at that moment.
I can remember now, I look back, passing somebody in the mall or in a hall in Algeria. I could pass them. I'm going down that long hall and they come back. I can feel my inner self break loose in awareness and see the inner self of that person pass me, and my inner body turn around and look at itself.
I remember years ago when you were working in Reynolds and you came home and you shared this with me. And at the time you were very, very focused on how to bring healing to people. And so that was your
focus
at that point. You were at work, and I remember you came home and you said there was this lady that you just touched.
Yeah, that she was one of the.
You just kind of did it like that.
Yeah, I was going down. They have what they call material searches, where they dump the tobacco on the table and they sort out the paper and all the debris, throw it in a bucket. And I remember her name, and she was sitting with her back turned. And I usually on the way out, I just stopped and talked to her, and I tapped her on the shoulder, and she turned around and spoke to me. but I didn't know she had some kind of headache.
Mm-hmm.
She told Mr. Uh, um, I know his name,
Well, whatever
the
his name is.
supervisor,
Yeah, yeah.
and when I left, he said they went. She went to talk, he went to talk to him. She said, Reverend Sawyer, I wasn't preaching then. I guess it was. Yeah, it was.
But you weren't in preacher
I
mode
no, I was
at
just
work.
at work,
Yeah.
and Kiger, Mr. Kiger, and he's a pretty good guy. I've seen him, and let me tell you, that thing left her. I didn't do me just touch it. Wasn't even
Yeah,
planning on
yeah.
doing it.
My point for bringing that up was that we are the manifestation of God. We don't realize that as we move and walk around, we are carrying that God power, that God essence,
We call it.
and
Mm-hmm.
affecting people, just like we talked about the remote. It affects people even when we're not aware of
That's
it.
right.
So it what it is, our mind wants to be, it wants to be in on everything that gets done. It wants,
Mm-hmm.
because our egoic mind wants the credit, it wants to feel special, it wants
Mm-hmm.
to know that it has the power, but that is not where the power
That's
comes
right.
from.
Now, here's my prayer in with desire. I've always had the desire to be able. I said, God, we got to find a way that if anybody comes in front of us with cancer, we can get rid of it.
And that's what you said.
That's what I said.
Uh-huh.
And in those days of brick and mortar, I had a few cases to come in that I could do that.
That you did that, but not all cases.
Not all cases.
Right.
And this prayer is cranked up in me again in reference to Laverne and her husband.
Mm-hmm.
And please believe me, when I see somebody in the stores that has an infirmity like this, my infinite identity, healing self, is instantly asking for a way that I can get inside of this thing and stop the suffering.
Well, now I'm glad you mentioned it, because I remember Dr. David Hawkins, who's crossed over now,
Mm-hmm.
Tremendous spiritual teacher, and
Mm-hmm.
he mentioned that the miracles that happen because of the field that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was mentioning that it was told a story of when he had encountered on the highway, a wreck had happened,
Mm-hmm.
really bad wreck had happened, and he felt the essence of who he is go out of his body
Mm-hmm.
and go to where those people were
Mm-hmm.
injured.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't physically go,
Mm-hmm.
but he actually felt his essence go to where they are. And so the healings were taking place, but he wasn't, his ego didn't have a chance to get in on it.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So that I think for those of us who've had this awakening, and we understand what an ego mind does and is, the healings come, but they don't come sometimes with observation,
Mm-hmm.
because the ego will not get the credit.
I can remember, you guys, somebody come up in front of me that had something going on in the physical finite self. I found out how to ball and pull up all the energy.
And you said that on Tuesday as well.
How to pull all the energy
Mm-hmm.
into one place,
Mm-hmm.
like this,
Mm-hmm.
and explode it out
Yeah.
through my hands.
Yeah.
And when I did that, the energy from everything, but the only thing is, I can tell you, when you do this, be ready to go home and rest and lay down and recharge your body.
Mm.
Because the energy that's, when you do this, I used to teach it in my classes, and I used to show them how. I was doing it when I was in the competitive AAU weightlifting contest. Before I picked up 250, 300 pounds, I would bring all my focus into a ball of energy with my hand on that bar, and I flattened my back, and I would say, and as I did that, I pulled up. I found the center of gravity from the floor up through an area in front of my chest. And if I kept that gravity center focus, that 300 pounds felt like 100 pounds.
Yeah, yeah.
My energy
Yeah.
was assisting me.
Because you went beyond your physical
Yeah,
anatomy.
yeah.
And I have to say this, you're very, I've often told him this, he's a very animated person. So in his quest for the unlimited aspect of God to come through, he would be considered a worker of miracles, someone who has to make it happen.
Yes,
yes. Some of us are more in the passive area, not so much the make it happen area. So, but that because you're so animated, that's the kind of person that you are in your psyche. And
I want to hear and see in the inner sanctuary the essence ooze itself out. Okay, here it comes. There were some scars that were made and been made in your soul. And these scars are like cuts, injuries in the soul. And I found out that some of these injuries was bathed with healing salve from the eons of eternity. And these scars are opened by certain things that you've gone through that is to be an asset to you growing up in this finite world. I'm speaking some mysteries to you now. Yeah. Something troubled me, and I used that trouble as a place inside of me to push the alabaster oil through and the fragrance of God from my eternal self. It's like Jesus, let me put it like this. In the Bible, it said that an angel rolled the stone open from the tomb that he was in.
Rolled the stone away, yes.
Yeah. And rolled it, they closed it up. I'm talking about you rolling the stone from over the doors of your soul, from the inside of your body. Yeah. And for you to know how to push yourself out through those openings, through the gates of eyes, the gates of hearing, the gates of feeling, the gates of touch and create.
Out beyond the body.
Out beyond the body. Your energy field. It's part of you out there is waiting for that inside your body to mate or to join up with it. I learned that, whoop, I feel it now.
And I have to say this.
I sense it now.
I have to say this because you're saying all of this in the midst of right smack dab in the middle of a condition that you're dealing with right now.
That's right, and I have to do it.
And you're using that condition.
I'm using it
to further your quest.
Yes. I'm going to. And you are going to find a way from your inner sanctuary. Buzz, you're going to find a way like you've always done. A way to keep going if I have to walk with one leg, two legs, or no leg. I saw a guy on the stage preaching, didn't have no waistline. And
he had no legs and
arms. And yet he was still making it.
Yeah. And so having said that, the things that we go through are apparently they are here and presented to us to push us further in the quest. So something can be born out of it.
That's right.
Something has to be born out of it. And our time is up. Oh my gosh. So you guys, we need you guys to continue to give to Cornerstone.
Yes, we do.
You can do that by going to
and everything. We need it at this point. Thank you so much.
You can do that by going to the website, which is thecornerstonelifecenter.com, or you can text it, COC Greensboro to 73256. or you can use paypal.me/cornerstone35, which is the easiest way to do this. But if you can't do it like that, then just mail it in to P.O. Box 36259. That's Greensboro, North Carolina, 27416. And when you want to bless Pastor and myself and this message, if it resonates with you, please give. We still need your tithes, your offerings. Cornerstone is still a virtual church.
That's right.
By the way, I need to put this up right quick because Brother Kessler came. For those of you who are local Cornerstone, he wanted to say thank you. And this is the card. He said, "Thanks for your kindness and thoughtfulness. Hope you know how very much you appreciate it and what a difference you make." And that's from the James Kessler and family. His wife had her homegoing on this week, and I was privileged to do the eulogy. And so we just wanted to acknowledge that he did want us to do that. So we need you to continue to give. We need your funds.
Yes,
we're coming
we do.
up on January. I'm going to have to get a new subscription for StreamYard, which is this platform that I'm using, and that's $240. And we need you guys to contribute if you can. We know the holidays are coming up, and we know that gifts are going to be purchased and all, but we really don't want you to forget your commitment to Cornerstone and to Pastor and myself. And we thank you so much for what you already have been doing. And if you can just take this time to do that, we would appreciate it. And Jill apparently is not available today. She didn't put that in the comments. So I hope you will use what I've got on the screen. Anyway, we love you.
Thank you, all you little buzzers out there. And Leslie, we love you and thank you.
You guys didn't comment much today. Buzz did most of the commenting, which was great. Buzz did a very good job preaching his preach. And we just look forward to being with you guys again on Tuesday.
Yep. Tuesday at 7.
At 7.
Yep.
And then Thursday at 12:30 with Pastor Norman. So have a wonderful, beautiful day. Stay safe. Stay sweet, and we'll see you again.
God said, keep your britches on your nose clean.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay? That's an old saying. Hold tight. My mom used to tell me, hold tight, booty racker shacker. That's an old time saying back in the 20s.
Yeah.
Back when they used to do old swing dancing with the ladies had them big wide dresses with folds on. But anyway, we thank you for coming to earth again to let us meet in this dimension.
Bye. We'll see you on Tuesday.
See ya. Bye-bye.